driver's seat.
Okay.
So welcome in, everybody. Meteorologist Chris Vickers along with Matt Willoughby. And if you're just kind of getting into the mix of things and joining us, well, it's great to have you along. We are live right now. And Matt, we're going to be talking some storms, the timing of storms, and the weather. So how you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. Yeah. I'm interested to see how these storms are going to roll out, and that's exactly pretty much what we're going to be diving into in just a few seconds.
Good chance you're joining us right now because you want to know the same information as well. And Matt and I have been kind of studying the data and the latest observations, radar, satellite, high-resolution computer modeling, and we're kind of diving deep into the details of this. Matt, break this down. We've got a couple clusters of storms. Yes. We're all dry right now. We don't have any imminent severe weather the next 3 to 4 hours. We're going to say after 8 p.m. will be our risk of storms. Matt, take us down here. What are we looking at with these storms?
Yeah, we saw these storms boil up just a few hours ago, so these will kind of be racing across pretty much into Dayton, Ohio. So yeah, these storms surely did bubble up a bit and even pop some severe thunderstorm warnings. But yeah, as you can tell, right back here, most of Northwest Ohio is pretty clear right now. Even looking at some of the cams right now, seeing sunny skies and blue skies.
And you're feeling the heat and humidity.
Oh, yeah.
It's cranking up, upper 80s. Some spots going to sneak into the lower 90s. And as Matt mentioned, there's a couple severe thunderstorm warnings east of Indianapolis. Flash flooding a concern with a couple of these storms. These not directly going to impact our area, but there is a severe thunderstorm watch out for those. Now, this is the more interesting portion of what we're looking at right here. We are looking at the potential out toward Madison, Wisconsin, that a strong storm is held that has been developing. And this is what we've been highlighting the vast majority of the past 24 hours.
Oh, yeah.
When we issued that alert day, we did this yesterday morning, Sunday morning, giving you that first advanced notice of the alert day on our Monday evening for the risk of some strong storms. And this may evolve in a few different waves, Matt. So it's a little complex. You and I are watching. Tell me what a few of the things that we've been watching with this complex of storms. There's a little spin in the atmosphere to this little complex of storms.
Yeah. So like I said, we saw that spin, and some of these storms did bubble up over Wisconsin. But yeah, like Chris said, we're starting to see that little bit of spin as soon as it crosses over into Lake Michigan. So yeah, seeing some stronger storms out there. Looking in just around Madison, that's where you see those stronger storms and that heavier downpour. As well, just east of Madison.
A lot of the question then is, Matt, how long do these storms hold together? How strong do they stay? But this storm in particular is this area of rain departs. That one area of storms, that's what we're watching over headed toward Lake Michigan. And if that survives the trip across Lake Michigan, it's going to enter into a zone that's more favorable for storm development. So we're going to put this on an easy scale, a risk 1 out of 5, 5 being the worst case scenario. We're at about a 3 right now for the potential of these storms. If you highlight exactly where we just were, notice that one trailing storm is just on the western edge of that higher risk area. So our thought on this one is if that storm can stay together, Matt, it's going to race across Lake Michigan into southwest Michigan and eventually enter into northwest Ohio. Timing of that, after 8 o'clock is when we'd be looking at that to occur.
Oh, yeah. So, speaking of that, timing, we'll continue to see these storms kind of bubble up a little bit. And, there you go, is that timing. As soon as it crosses over Lake Michigan, that will pretty much be the key part to watch out for as we go between, like I said, that 8 p.m. and that 4 a.m. time range.
More favorable environment as well for storms. The farther south and west those storms do track. So still some questions on the strength of this particular storm. 7 o'clock, and I'm going to kind of take you through this one slowly. 8 to 9 o'clock. This is about when the time of arrival of that first wave of storms would potentially come into the area. The threat would be some gusty winds, torrential downpours, and there is a warm front that's going to be draped across the area with our greater instability just south and west of Toledo Metro. If you actually look really close here, if you can kind of highlight it on the screen, I'll do this for you. You can almost see a little bit of a convergence zone right across northwest Ohio. That is where we've got the warm, humid air to the south and west, and some of the relatively, believe it or not, cooler air with temperatures in the 80s just off to the north and to the east. And it's along this line where we're going to get the best spin or rotation. So we're going to watch these cells, and especially the southern and western flanks of those cells as they come into the area. Time on this is 9 p.m. The potential is if we get some of these strong storms near dusk, there could be some rotation associated with those storms. That's generally wave one.
Yep.
Wave 2, Matt, break this one down.
Yeah, so wave 2, after that wave 1 goes down, that's when then we see that time period of around 11 to around 4 a.m. for wave 2, and that second wave may pack a punch a little bit, just around 2 o'clock to around 2 a.m. to around 4 a.m.
So again, gusty winds.
Gusty winds, yes.
The potential some of the storms could be rotating, but the second wave then would have an elevated flooding risk, because if we do make it through one wave of storms, and let's just say it just rains really hard for a bit, maybe you get some gusty winds, the second wave of storms, that will have the localized flooding threat, because we may be talking rainfall totals that could quickly exceed 1 to 2 inches where we get the heaviest of the rainfall. Then this moves out of the area and it's gone by daybreak, but our risk time for these storms is going to be after 8 p.m. and that may continue into early Tuesday morning through about 4 a.m. So winds, if we do get some of those higher end wind gusts to materialize, they may exceed 70 miles per hour. We're just going to say at this point, the tornado risk is possible. We're not going to say it's impossible, maybe a relatively lower end risk, but it's not something we can eliminate off the table, and then flooding over 1 to 2 inches would be possible where we get the heaviest of the rainfall.
Yeah, exactly, and especially with that higher wind, 70 mile per hour winds possible, and that easily could knock out some power, could have some power outages out there as well.
Have the devices plugged in, charged, maybe the cell phone charged. You want to cook dinner maybe a little early in the evening. Make sure you get that done and cleaned up and out of the way before the chance of those stronger storms tonight. So the strong storms, again, some of the downpours, Matt, the atmosphere is kind of juiced for some heavier rainfall.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, we've got some daytime heating out there. So, yeah, we've gotten a ton of heating to kind of get that atmosphere kind of juiced up and ready. So, yeah, like I said, those three things to know: the damaging winds, hail, and even that possible tornado as well. But the main thing with that second round would be, of course, that heavy rain that could lead to some potential flooding.
So you guys are checking this out right now, streaming live on WTOL.com, streaming through our app as well, and on YouTube Live, we are streaming. So multiple ways that you can be able to connect with us, which is so super cool. I encourage you to continue to check out WTOL.com because we've got this updated 3 things to know out there. Matt, you were working on this today. And also on that free WTOL 11 weather app, say you don't have that, now is the time to download that because it'll be something that alerts you to the severe weather, and especially some of those later storms tonight. If you're one that likes to head to bed 9, 10, 11 o'clock, these storms could be going to 3 or 4 in the morning. So we want you to have multiple ways to receive warnings, and one of those ways, of course, being that free WTOL 11 weather app, keeping you informed about what to expect.
Yeah, and like I said, another thing is those 3 things to think about. So where you may have to go for where that is shelter, and as Chris said, how can you receive those warnings, whether that's through live TV, radio, or anything like that. So make sure you have a way to receive those warnings, and also with those strong winds that we may see, make sure you have additional power sources as well.
Nothing worse than losing power, especially with the heat we've got ahead. My goodness, we're going to be talking record-breaking heat as well, so that's going to be the other aspect of what we're going to be anticipating. All right, let's do a quick run-through once again because we've got more people that are joining us, and then Matt and I have got to get ready for WTOL 11 News at 5, and again, that one cluster of storms. This is really torrential rainfall down just east of Indianapolis, not going to impact our area. This is the area that we are watching, and that storm that is just racing through Madison. We're going to have a close eye on that and that risk area. Matt, why don't you take us through this graphic? I'm going to check one thing really quick on that particular storm. Yeah, so what you're looking at right now is pretty much the severe threat. So anybody else in SPC comes out with this this map pretty much saying it's level 1 through 5, and as you can see the orange right there, that is pretty much level 3, and that is an enhanced risk for severe weather. And just kind of the outskirts are 2, which is like I said, slight risk, and then green, marginal risk, of course. So yeah, like I said, this is kind of like that area where you could likely see some severe weather threats for today. All right, this is a cool thing. This is what we can do with this kind of stuff. The reason I left you just for a brief second there is I want to show you, I just checked, there is an active storm discussion right now that is occurring with that particular cell. Let me highlight that cell again. So this is an area that the Storm Prediction Center is actively discussing a likely occurrence that they're going to issue a watch for this area, Matt. 80% confidence that they're going to issue a watch, and in particular, it's because of this environment here is favorable for additional storms to be developing. And what you and I kind of mentioned with that is those storms get going, in particular, this one cluster of storms that is now just east of Madison. This is the area that if we get storms that start really cooking in this vicinity, those are the ones that may survive the trip across Lake Michigan. Problem is, Matt, Lake Michigan, as you know as well, it's a very cold lake this time of year, so what we call more of a stable boundary layer. So some questions are, does it survive that trip across Lake Michigan? And I will tell you this, probably a good opportunity for you to tune the TV right now to WTOL 11 News at 5 and 6 p.m. because we will have the answer to that live 5 and 6 p.m. We'll be watching that storm, and if it does make its way across Lake Michigan, as some of our models indicate, look at that, making its way across Lake Michigan. There's that cluster of storms. If it does so, it would be arriving out toward Kalamazoo, Grand Rapids, right around 7 p.m., and then eventually into our area 8 to 9 p.m., that leading edge of what looks to be sort of a bow echo structure. And that is one thing that we are concerned about, Matt. When we see those bow echoes, that typically is a signature of high winds.
Oh, yeah. And kind of like you said, that bow echo, that right at the front of the storm, that's when you could see some heavy, and even torrential downpour to start out as that. So you're seeing kind of like strong winds and heavy downpour with that, and that also could lead to some localized flooding. But that won't just be the end of it, right, Chris?
No, and count it right here, Matt.
Yep.
How many waves? One wave, 2 waves. 3 waves of storms.
Yes.
So there's evidence of several waves of storms. So that's why we've kind of given a wide range here. 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. is we may be seeing several waves of storms that come through. So where we get the repeated waves, I'll say this because it's hard to kind of pinpoint the nature of how much rainfall you could get. We'll say over 1 to 2 inches of rain possible. Yes. But I'll just level with you right now that if you were an unlucky location, it's not out of the question. Some areas could juice out 3 to 4 inches of rainfall if you get some of those repeated storms. An example of that, if we take you down over toward Indianapolis, where that atmosphere is incredibly juiced, there's already a few active flash flood warnings that are issued out here. And if we take kind of a quick look at some of these flash flood warnings, these are areas that have already seen 1 to 2 inches of rain, and an additional 1 to 2 inches of rain is possible. And again, that's not for our area, but it gives you an example of what these storms are at least capable of. Heavy rainfall.
Oh yeah, for sure. And like I said, that atmosphere down there is kind of juiced up, kind of like similar to in our area in Northwest Ohio, where if we get some storms similar to that, they can sure juice up and drop some heavy downpour.
So we're going to cover you live on WTOL 11. Matt Willoughby and myself are going to be there. We'll be on WTOL.com as well. Updates on Facebook and Twitter and all our social media accounts. We had the alert out yesterday morning, the first warning, first notice of these storms, and I hope you got that sent directly to your phone. You were one that knew first, if you had that free WTOL 11 weather app. We sent it to you yesterday morning as we saw this storm threat unfolding. And again, it may be 2 distinct waves after 8 o'clock, wind gusts to about 70 miles per hour, maybe a possibility. Again, if and where those storms develop, a tornado risk is something we can't eliminate at this point, and over 1 to 2 inches of rain that will be possible. So Matt and I are going to get ready for WTOL 11 News at 5. You can join us for our live updates as those storms make their way across Lake Michigan and more develop tonight. We'll leave you, though, with a look at these alert day rules, so to speak, or at least characteristics of what you need to know. For meteorologist Matt Willoughby, this is Chief Meteorologist Chris Vickers. We'll see you live on WTOL 11 at 5.